I think we should start by now, Jennifer.
Okay.
All right. A very good evening to all of you. And we all know today we have with us Jennifer. Let me just give a very good introduction of Jennifer. Jennifer has been a professor in 3 bilingual and international education master's program in Spain for the past 14 years. She has been a teacher, trainer, and professor for over 23 years. She has created and taught over 120 courses in centers of teacher formation in all parts of Spain, Europe, and worldwide. So she is a lady with profound knowledge. So let us not waste much time, and everything is in your hand now, Jennifer. All to you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay, so this is a really exciting topic that I'm happy to bring to you today. And I'd like to also just talk to you before I begin that let's make sure we can shut off all of our mics because
I'm requesting everyone, please mute yourself. All of you, please mute yourself.
Okay, everybody, please shut off your mics. All right. Okay. Okay, so this is a really interesting topic. It's not new. Neuroscience, things going on in neuroscience have been happening for maybe 40 years at this point. But it's still catching up to education, and it's catching up also as well with within medicine. And there's lots of interesting things going on about the brain, the way the brain works, and how can we use the way the brain works to help us as teachers. Now, I'm going to present this to you today in my way. You might see other classes with other teachers that attack this in a different way, okay? And I'm going to explain why this is my way of teaching this, and because I've done a lot of research on this, okay, and the way the brain works and how it relates to learning, and I teach educational psychology, so this is something I'm always researching. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to give you 3 main tips that you can bring into your classrooms right away. So I don't want to make this too difficult and something you say, well, that's really hard to do. I want to show you 3 main things that basically any of us could bring into our classrooms and start using right away, okay? All right, so what I'm going to do is I'd like to start off by showing you, if you do a little research and you look at neuroeducation related to teaching in the classroom, you might see a video that looks kind of like what I'm going to show you. I'm only going to show you a very small part, and then I want to explain why this is not my approach for teaching neuroeducation. Let me just show you a short clip. This is called whole brain learning, and it's supposed to be based on neuroeducation, and it does have, or neuroscience, it does have some good components, but I'd like to make an argument of why I don't think it's the best way. Let's take a quick look.
We can't see the video, Jennifer.
Okay, I tried that before. It should have worked.
Actually, your whole presentation is gone. You may need to present again.
Let's try it again. I'll try it in a different way. Why did that work before and it's not working now? Okay, let's see.
Jennifer, just a suggestion. When you press the present button, instead of saying pressing on your entire screen, press on a window. You may get
that's the problem. It's not giving me that option for a window.
Do you get an option of a tab?
No, I wasn't. So let's try it again. Maybe it's because I didn't open this in Chrome.
Oh, that could be a possibility.
Maybe that's why. But okay, let me try to open it a different way because I didn't open the Gmeet in Chrome.
Oh, okay.
Can you see it?
No.
No, it's not.
Can you?
Before it was, suddenly it stopped.
Now?
No.
Ma'am, screen is not showing.
You don't see the video moving?
We
No,
don't
ma'am.
see any presentation, Jennifer.
Okay, let me see maybe if I can open it on a Chrome. That way it's not on, I'm not doing it on the same, I'm not doing it on Safari. Let me give this a try quickly and just see if it works. This is weird because we just checked it before and it seemed like it worked.
Ma'am, video is not showing.
Yes, she's trying it through another way.
Yet not
If
started.
people could please turn off their mics.
Ma'am, someone else is talking in the family.
Now showing.
Now it's okay?
Yes, Jennifer, it's visible now.
Ma'am, but it's not audible, ma'am.
Are you hearing it?
No, it's not audible, but we can see that you are presenting a video.
Sushmita ma'am,
that's
if she's not able to, when she plays, sometimes we cannot hear. She has to share the screen with somebody else. That video should be sent to someone else. Other participant can play, we can hear it then.
Yeah, because it says share my entire screen, but I don't have anything else I can press other than that. It just
Ma'am, you
says share your entire screen, but it doesn't
Ma'am,
share
there should
sound
be
or
an option
anything.
to sharing the sound.
Yeah, it's presenting. You just hold on. Let's see. Jennifer, you just enlarge the screen.
Can you hear it?
You enlarge the screen and see the video.
Can you hear it?
No.
No.
Okay, forget it. Okay, I'm not going to waste time. We tried it. We tried sharing the screen. It wasn't working right, so I'm going to explain it. Okay, I'm not going to waste time. You can now see my presentation, right?
Right.
Okay.
No, we
All right.
cannot see your presentation. It's the video which is still on the screen.
No, we can. Yeah, you just move the slide, the video slide. Yeah, now it's visible.
Okay. Well, all right. So unfortunately, the video is not playing correctly because I don't have another option to share a video, share sound. Okay, let me explain what's going on here. So in this video, what we were trying to show you was that there is the teacher, and what she's doing is she's using something called whole brain learning. And in whole brain learning, it's a lot of drills, okay? And so they're asking, the teacher says, clap, 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 class, 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 and the students say, yes, 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 and she wants them to look at her. And then she says mirror words, and the teacher says something and the students repeat. So there's a lot of, some people call it like very military style. The teacher saying, the students are repeating. Now, this is what they do in whole brain learning. So in whole brain learning, there's a lot of this going back and forth, and the students really aren't doing much thinking, and their nervous systems are kind of on high. And actually, even if you were to watch this video on YouTube, if you look down under the comments, a lot of people and teachers are saying, "Ooh, that looks very aggressive," or "It looks like the students are very nervous." And really, one of the main things we want to think about when we talk about neuroeducation is we want to think about that the brain is relaxed, okay? We don't want the nervous system overactive. We don't want that to be happening. Now, there are some good things from this method, don't get me wrong. There are a couple of good ideas that we can use. However, This method is very, very military-like, okay? And it's I say, you repeat, I say, you repeat, and everybody has to do it together. And then the students will even turn towards each other and they will say what the teacher says, and they're all talking at the same time, okay? So this is not the best thing for the brain. They also do this method in secondary schools, okay? Now, in secondary school, this is even worse. Now, I can totally understand if you have students that have some serious issues, like attention deficit disorder, or if you have students with neurological issues, or maybe in the autistic spectrum, okay, something like this might be a little bit helpful. But still, it's going to be very, anxious and stressful for the brain. And this is one of the main things that we don't want when we talk about neuroeducation. We want our brain to be our ally. We want our nervous system to be our ally. It should be very, very relaxed, okay? So why am I starting with this? Because if you do some research online and you see this whole brain learning related to neuroeducation, I want you to realize there are different ways that educators are looking at this, okay? Some people might look at it and say, okay, it has some points for getting students to pay attention, but is it really developing the brain in a healthy manner? And I'd like to argue against that. I don't think it is in the long run. Because we've also seen some of the places using this whole brain learning in universities. Okay, when you get into a job and you get older, they're not going to do this for you in your job. You need to be able to use your brain. You need to be able to regulate yourself. You need to be able to think. You need to be able to problem solve. You need to be able to calm yourself down. So I argue against this. There are some points that might be good, but I'd like you to have just to be aware if you do a little research on this method. Okay, I'm not going to attempt to show videos. Well, before the next, if we do another one, we'll have to check what's going on with why the video doesn't share correctly. Okay, in this video, what I was going to show you is another teacher who's teaching music. And what this teacher, you can see her classroom is very calm. And she's asking kids questions. She's getting them thinking. She's trying to use their critical thinking skills. The kids are working together. They're collaborating. That's what we want in a healthy brain. We want brains that are thinking independently, coming up with ideas, brainstorming, talking to others, sharing our ideas, and the nervous system is calm. Okay? All right. So this is if you when you think about neuroeducation, one of the first things you want to think about is, do my students have a calm brain? And that's what I'm going to go through with you. Because when we talk about neuroscience and neuroeducation, we're talking about what have our students experienced? What is their home life like? What is their environment like? What has been modeled to them? How have they been conditioned? And I'm going to talk to you about this because that's really what neuroscience is about. Neuroscience and neuroeducation is about what kind of connections have already been formed in the brain. When we're born with almost basically all of the neurosynapses and cells that we'll have in our lives. We might create some new ones during our life, but we pretty much have all of them, and it's trillions, okay? So what happens is after a child is born, it's almost like the brain goes through a setup, kind of like a computer system, okay? And certain things should happen at certain times, if possible, to teach the brain how to handle things, to build our cognitive skills. But we learn a lot from our experience, and we learn a lot from what we see. We learn a lot from what has been modeled to us. And those experiences, the modeling and everything creates like roads or pathways in the brain, okay? And what happens, those pathways become very, very strong, okay? And this is what we're going to talk about. So when we have students in our classrooms that say things like, I'm not good at this, I'm not good at speaking a second language, I'm not good at English, I'm not good at math, I'm not good at art, I'm not good at, they weren't born with that. That came from somewhere. Those paths in the brain came from somewhere. And this can hold back learning. So we want to take anybody at whatever level they're on, whether they're little kids, whether they're in secondary school. We want to think about what has been conditioned into my students' minds. What are those pathways that the students are telling themselves? What experiences have they had? Can I change it? And neuroscience and neuroeducation tells us, yes, we can. It's just not fast. Okay, so let's take a look. So we don't want our classrooms to look like a circus. Yeah, sure, you can do games and all of that kind of stuff all the time, but let's talk what's good for the brain. Okay, so the first thing we want to see here is I want you to know as teachers, the brain can change. And this is what neuroscientists tell us, that the brain is plastic. They call it plasticity. It's like plastic, okay? Now, first thing we want to think of in our classrooms, because if you say, how do I motivate my students? How do I get my students to do this? How do I get my students to work with math or languages or writing or presentations in front of the class? First thing you have to think about is what's going on in here and what do those students tell themselves? What kind of obstacles do they have in their minds? Okay. Now, and where do these obstacles come from? So let's take a look at this. So one of the first things we want to look at, which a lot of people are studying nowadays, is this thing called, it's in some countries they call it helicopter parenting, and in some other countries it's now called bulldozer parenting. And so I would like to explain a little bit about this so that we can see what this does to the brain. So many parents or caregivers might think that they're doing the best for their children, pushing all problems out of the way of their children. I don't want my kids to have to struggle. I don't want them to see any problems. It's easier if I do things for them. Well, this doesn't have a very good effect on the brain, because what you're supposed to do as a child, you're supposed to get small amounts of regular struggle and regular stress and regular anxiety. So for example, let's say you have a young child and the child is learning to tie the shoe, but the child gets really frustrated and doesn't do it. Mom or dad says, let me just do it for you. Well, what happens is the child's brain doesn't learn how to handle small issues. Stress, anxiety, normal struggle, healthy struggle. And in the end, that's not a good thing, because what we need is for the brain to learn in small amounts, how do I handle struggle? How do I handle challenge? Okay, this is the foundation of all of this. So what we want to do, and I'm going to show you the tips, how we can do this in our classrooms. How can I work with the kids that have these things? I'm not good at English. I'm not good at math. I can't write. I can't draw. I'm not good at doing presentations. I'm not good at it, all of these things. Okay. Now, some of the kids will be, and they're really good at things and they're really willing to give it a try. But you'll see a large number of kids in our classroom have this conditioning, like, I'm not good at this. Okay. Where did they get that from? Can we change it? Neuroscience tells us, yes, we can. It's just not fast. So what ends up happening is these kids get something called a learned helplessness, right? One of my teachers told me I'm not good at English. My family's not good at languages, and they said I'm not going to be good at it either. Or maybe I was in a classroom and somebody laughed at me when I was speaking English and I made a mistake. Or I made a mistake in math, or I made a mistake in doing something. I'm never going to do it again. Well, that really stops learning. These obstacles stop kids from wanting to learn. And so the main thing is, how can we help them overcome this? Okay, so just to give a little more background on all of this and the way the brain works and how the brain has gotten these messages is something called modeling. And there was a very famous study done in the 1960s by Albert Bandura. And this is from social learning. And it was called the Bobo doll study. And what they did was they put kids in a room and had them watch a lady play with this doll. And And some of the kids saw the lady playing with the doll in a nice way, and generally the kids would also play with the doll in a nice way. But other children saw the woman hitting the doll, beating the doll, kicking the doll. Those kids, in general, were even more violent with the doll than the lady was. So Albert Bandura said, this is really important because what we see conditions our mind and the way we act and the way we see things. So what we have to realize is when we have children coming to our classrooms, what have they seen? What have they learned? What have they experienced? What has been conditioned into their minds that's acting as maybe an obstacle for their learning, okay? And we want to help them overcome this. So let's go to tip number 1. If you have children in your classroom, right, that say, I can't do this, I'm not good at this, I'm not good at language, I'm not good at math, I wasn't born with a skill for this, what we want to do is the first thing is you want your students to change their minds and add the word yet. Okay, so I want all of you to think about this for 1 second. I want you to put something in your mind. Okay, I want you to think of something that you say, I'm not good, I can't do. Okay, put it into your mind and say, I'm not good at drawing. I'm not good at speaking in front of others in English. I'm not good at writing, right? I'm not good at drawing. I'm not good at physical education. I'm not good at art. How do you feel after you say that, right? It doesn't feel very good. It doesn't feel good in the brain. In fact, it might even set off pain centers of the brain and fear. But now take that same thing and add the word yet on the end. I'm not good at drawing yet. It feels completely different, right? I'm not good at speaking in English yet. What you're doing is you're already telling your brain a new message. There's possibility. Maybe I could. Maybe if I had some help, maybe if I give it some practice, maybe if I get some strategies, maybe I could do it. So that would be the first step I would tell you. When you have students that you hear say, I'm not good at this, I can't do this, I'm bad at this, they weren't born with that. They learned that somewhere, okay? So what you want to do is first get them to say this word yet. Let me explain where this comes from, this tip number 1. This comes from also a lady, in case you're interested and you like to study these kinds of things. Her name is Carol Dweck. And Carol Dweck is a psychologist who has studied all about learning for many, many years, for 30 or 40 years. And what she studied was something called a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. And so you can have a fixed mindset in some areas of your life and a growth mindset in other areas. But what she found was a lot of people that would say things like, I can't change the way I communicate, I wasn't born with something, I'm not able to do something. That's a fixed mindset. Where did that come from? It was modeled or it was conditioned or something happened that caused that. Can we change it? Yeah, we can. We can move into a growth mindset. How do we get that to change? Well, what we have to do is number 1, talk about the power of yet. I'm not good at this yet. Secondly, as a teacher, we need to give our students strategies. Now, this is really important, okay? So if your students are having problems with reading, problems with math, problems with writing, problems with memorizing grammar, problems using things, what we need to think about is what strategies do those kids need so that I can help them. I need to give them strategies that they can actually put into practice, okay? When the students use the strategies that you give them, you want to praise their effort. Don't praise the child. This is all related to neuroscience and neuroeducation and retraining the brain, okay? So let's say, for example, I have a child who's reading in English and is having problems reading. If you just say to the child, well, come on, try harder, that's not going to do anything, okay? So if the child says, I'm not good at reading, first thing, I'm not good at reading yet. We're going to learn some strategies to improve our reading. Then the teacher has to show the students some strategies. For example, These are all come from reading, right? Let's look at the title of the book and let's guess what this book is about. Let's look at all the pictures and guess what we're going to see happening in this book. Let's look at all the bold vocabulary words and make some questions that we can ask, that while we're reading, we try to understand what it's about. Maybe we can look at the subtopics of each part that we're going to read. Maybe we can look at the characters and we can guess what's going to happen. Maybe we can look at some new words and see if we need to know those words before we start reading. Maybe we need to read in chunks. Maybe we need, when we're reading and we get stuck on a word, that we don't stop, we keep going and we try to get the gist and use context clues. Those are all strategies, okay? So when the child then gets stuck and has a trouble reading, and you say, come on, let's try to use some of those strategies we learned. Which strategy do you want to use? Let's give it a try. When the child uses the strategy, you praise the effort, not the child. You don't say, what a fantastic kid you are. You want to say, good job, little guy, or whoever, right? You use that strategy I gave you. Now, why does Carol tell us that you should praise the effort and not the child? Because related to neuroscience, related to the brain, when you tell the child, you're so great, you're so wonderful, you're really fantastic at this, it could put the child into a fixed mindset. Because now the child thinks, the teacher thinks I'm really good at this, and I don't want to risk losing this position. But if you tell the children, you did great because you put effort forward, there in all of this, almost all the studies that Carol does, the children are willing to take a bigger challenge because you praise their effort. Their effort is what got them to this success. Maybe I can take a bigger challenge. Maybe I can take a bigger challenge. And this is how we can change things in the brain. Okay. So as teachers, get the kids to change their language to yet. This is a big one. Anytime this week or next week, when you're talking to your kids and your kids say, I can't do this, get them to put the word yet on there and you see what starts to happen. Give them strategies that they can use. When the kids use the strategies, give them a gold star, give them a thumbs up, give them something and say, yeah, you put in the effort and the effort was great. They're going to give you more effort. It's not fast, but we have to work on it. Okay. I cannot show you this but I'm going to explain this video. And I have a better analogy of a way of explaining this. This is a very short video that explains how this neuroplasticity works. So if we have these kids that we said are saying, I can't do this, I'm not good at this, I'm not good at language, I'm not good at math, I can't do this, etc. Let's make an analogy, okay? Let's say that one day you come out, you guys probably don't have snow where you are, but in some places of the world, people have snow, okay? And so you come out of your house one day and it snows and you shovel a path from your house to your car. It snows the next day. You shovel the same path again, and it keeps happening. It snows, you shovel. You snows, you shovel. It snows, you, right? Now the snow is up here. You're not going to try to create a new way to go to your car. You're going to use that path that you've already dug. That's the same thing that's going on in the brain. I'm not good at this. I can't do this. I'm not good at English. I always make mistakes. Somebody's going to laugh at me. That's where the brain goes directly, okay? That pathway is easy, it's fast, it's already there, it's already been created. We have to change that path. So that's where we're adding the word yet. When we add the word yet, a new pathway has been created. Then when I get the strategies and I try and I take on challenges and I see that I can do it, then I have new neural pathways created. And I'm going to show you guys an example of this that actually happened with some teachers I was working with. Now, some people might ask, well, how fast does this happen? It's not that fast. It's faster with kids than it is with adults. I was not going to show you this video. I'm only going to explain it. There's a gentleman who did a little study. And what he did is he's an engineer and he has a bicycle. And you know, normally when you turn a bicycle to the right, the wheels go to the right. And when you turn the bicycle to the left, the wheel goes to the left. Well, on this bicycle, they made it so that when you turn the hand to the right, the wheel goes to the left and the opposite. So this gentleman tries to ride the bicycle. He can't. His brain has been wired to ride the normal bicycle. And he said, no, come on, this is crazy. I could learn how to do this. For 8 months, he practiced on this bicycle where the handle go one way and the wheel goes the other way and vice versa. It took him 8 months for his brain to be able to learn this because the neural structures in his brain were so strong for riding bicycle the other way. But then his son, a young child, they gave a backward bicycle to the child. Within 3 weeks, the child was already riding the backward bicycle. So this means we have a better chance when the kids are young, when they've been telling themselves, I'm not good at this, or I can't do this, I'm not good at taking on challenges, or etc. We have a better chance of trying to change this when they're young and getting them to be people who like learning and feel good about themselves. I can't tell you how many adults I've spoken to who, when I talk to them about growth mindset and neuroscience and neuroeducation, and I talk to teachers and I ask them, did anybody ever tell you you couldn't do something when you were young and your whole life you believed it and you never tried it? And many people have told me, yes, when I was a child, somebody told me you're not good at languages, so I gave up. You're not good at dancing, I gave up. That's crazy, right? Your whole life you went through your whole life with these ideas that could have been changed, you could have had a different way. So this is very, very important for us for learning. The brain does change, okay? But it's not fast. So what this means is we need new routines, new habits, and we have to keep trying that new way. I'm also going to show you some other ways that we can help get the brain to do this. Okay, so when we have the kids, whatever age they are, you can get them even to think about do they have any obstacles? Do they feel like they can or they cannot do something? And then maybe slowly moving their thoughts to this not yet, okay? All right, now, I'd like to go to tip number 2. And this is where we say, tip number 2 is I want you to help your students lower their fear and calm their brains. And I wanted to show you how to do this. And I want to show you something, I'm going to tell you a story about something real that happened with a teacher, okay? So when I teach full courses on neuroeducation, what I do is I normally want to put teachers in the position of the students, because a lot of times we forget when we're kids, when we're adults, we forget what it is to be a child, and we forget the fear or the nervousness, etc. So when I'm teaching teachers about neuroeducation, a full course in neuroeducation, I put teachers in groups. And what I do is I tell them what we're going to be doing. Can everybody see my screen okay? Yeah. Okay. What I tell teachers, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be writing a song. Okay? This is a neuroeducation class. And we're going to learn all about neuroeducation, but I tell them we're going to write a song in this class. And in the beginning of the class, some of the teachers look like this. They go, oh, I didn't know that we were going to be writing a song. I thought we were just going to learn about neuroeducation. And then I say, oh, yeah, but that's okay, right? It's not a bad thing if we're going to write a song. Well, one day in one class, I've taught many neuroeducation classes. One lady said to me, Jennifer, I didn't know that you were going to ask me to sing, and I'm leaving the class. Okay, this is the same thing that goes on with the students, that fear. And this was a lady, an older lady. And I said, I'm not going to make you sing. And I said, number one, I love music. I went to school for music. I want you to love music as much as I do. I'm not going to torture you. I want you to feel great. I want you to feel that you can write a song. And I said, would you mind staying in the whole class today? I don't want you to leave yet. Would you stay? And if you really feel at the end of the class that you want to leave, it's okay. I'll let you leave. And I said, let me go through a few things with you. And she was like, okay, I will. Okay. And so the first thing I did was I had to bring down her fear. I'm not going to put you in front of people. I'm not going to make a fool out of you. You're not going to fail. Okay. I want you to succeed. I want you to like this. Okay. And then so what we did was I have to now work with her brain because her brain is like, she's ready to run. Okay. So what we did was I have to go through some things to help her handle her stress. Okay. So one of the first things I did was I said, I love music. So you could say the same for English or for math. I love math. I love English. I love writing. I want you guys to love it as much as I do. I'm not trying to torture you. This is going to be interesting and fun, and you're going to learn something, and you're going to produce something great. So let's give it a try. Okay, so what I did with her was, after I went through that, okay, what I did was I also said to her is, number one, you don't have to sing. Okay, so we can remove that fear. I said, you're going to write a song. You're going to write lyrics with me, and we're going to put music to it. And I've done it many, many times, so I know you can do it. I'm not going to, I know you can. I've done it many times. And I said, we're not going to write the whole song today. We're going to do this in small steps. And I'm going to take you step by step together. We're going to do this together. I could see her calming down, and I could see the other teachers calming down. Okay, then they're more open to the possibility. Okay, then what you can do is show the students something motivational, something that grabs their attention, that they're like, whoa, maybe this is going to be more interesting than I thought, or maybe this is pretty cool. So then I show them something called an advance organizer. And I show them this short video clip, and it's people singing a cappella. There's just singing, there's no music. And they're singing music all the way from the Middle Ages up till now. All different styles of music, all different themes. They're talking about all different kinds of themes. And then after we watch the video, I ask everybody, isn't that incredible? For thousands of people, thousands of years, people have been writing songs, and they still have new ideas. We still have things to write about and sing about. And then I ask them, what's your favorite style of music? And they start telling me, oh, I love this music and I love that. Everybody's calming down, and they're smiling, and they're like, yeah, we're going to write a song. Yeah, we are. Okay, so what ended up happening, which this was incredible. This woman stayed in the class. She stayed in the whole course. We went through every part of the songwriting, and the last day of the course, when they were presenting their songs, this woman sang her song to the whole class. Everybody was like, what? Clapping. This woman really changed her brain. She took on the challenge. She took on the challenge so much that she even sang the song for us and overcame her fear. And she wrote the song with the class. That's incredible. That's what we want to see happen with our students. We want to prove to their brains that they can do things they don't think they can. Okay? That's tip number 2. Bring down the fear. Bring down the stress. Show them, hey, I'm going to support you through this. I love this. I want you to love it. I'm going to take you through it in small steps. The brain likes that. Small steps. Let me even show you some motivation. Right? If you're asking your kids to write a fairy tale or a book or something, show them some work other kids have done. Hey, look at the work these kids have done. I think we can do it too. Okay? If you're doing math, show them how math relates to real life and all the incredible things you can do with math. All right, maybe this is interesting. Okay, now let's go to tip number 3. I'd like you to promote with your students that you see mistakes and challenges in a new light, because this is another thing that really holds us back, is we see mistakes as something horrible and something to avoid, okay? But in reality, if we look at neuroscience and neuroeducation, neuroscience tells us you don't really learn if you don't make mistakes. You have to make mistakes many times in order to learn, okay? And so if you talk to your kids, you can give them analogies. I would give them some analogies. I'm going to show what I mean. For example, let's say that your kids, whatever age your kids are, let's say your kids like skateboarding, or they like playing some kind of tricks or dancing. And let's take skateboarding, because a lot of kids like to skateboard. So maybe they see a new video on TikTok or YouTube or wherever they see these new tricks, and the kid wants to try the trick. And you say, okay, when you try that new skateboarding trick, are you able to do it the first time? Probably not. Ask the kids, how many mistakes do you make? What happens? I fall off the skateboard. I have to watch the video again. I have to practice over and over and over. Maybe it takes 1 week, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Yeah, that's normal. We're trying to create those connections in the brain. This is new. You've never done this before. It takes the brain a little time. So when we quit, when we make a mistake, we didn't give the brain a chance. We didn't give the brain a chance to make that connection, right? Because when you try that new trick on the skateboard, you don't do it in 1 minute. It takes time. You have to practice it over and over, and you make a lot of mistakes. But that's how the brain learns. So you can even find this picture online if you just put in like 4 types of mistakes. And I would put this in your classroom, and I would go through some of these types of mistakes with your kids so they understand them. And I'd like us to differentiate mistakes that we don't want to make. We might make them, but we want to learn from them, from mistakes that really help us learn. Okay, the first mistake we see here is called an aha mistake. And this is when we make a discovery. Oh, that's how that works. Or, oh, that's how that button works. Or, that's how that happens. I'd like to give you an example. And I suggest you give students examples from your life. One day I used to travel a lot for training teachers. And one day I was traveling and I went to a hotel, and I saw in the room they had one of those showers that has the heads, pushing the water from different directions. And I was like, oh yeah, that's going to be good because my back is hurting. I teach the class. I come back and like, yeah, time to take that shower. I couldn't turn the shower on. It had so many buttons and knobs, I couldn't turn it on. And I said, I can't call the people downstairs. I'm so embarrassed. I can't turn on the shower. So I was like, okay, I got to figure this out. I'm turning this, one thing goes on. I turn another one shoots. I turn another one, it changes the temperature. Finally, from touching all of the buttons and the knobs, I figured out how to turn it on, but it took about 15 minutes. That's aha mistakes. That doesn't work. Oh, that works. No, that doesn't work. We want to do things like this in our classroom. So when we do things like problem-based learning, project-based learning, maker education, anything really where we make a mistake, and you say, aha, that's how that works. That's how some of the greatest inventors invented things, through mistakes, through aha. Okay, so you want to show kids, that was an aha mistake, right? So I learn a lot from those mistakes. A stretch mistake is when we know what we're doing, we know the topic, but it's a little bit harder than our current level. So let's give the example. Let's say you're playing piano, you're taking piano lessons, and the teacher says, today we're going to move to the next book, the next level. And you're like, oh my gosh, this is going to be hard, right? And you open up the new book, the new level, and whoa, it's harder than I thought. I'm making a lot of mistakes. Yeah, but I learned book number 1. It took about 5 months. So I need to give myself some time to learn book number 2 because it's a little bit harder. So a stretch mistake means I already know the English, I already know writing, I already know math, but it's a little harder than I'm accustomed to. So I'm probably going to make some mistakes, right? Same thing with the skateboarding, right? Oh, I'm doing some simple tricks right now, but if I try a harder trick, I'm probably going to make some mistakes because I'm stretching my abilities. That's normal. The brain needs that for learning. A sloppy mistake this is just because you weren't paying attention, you weren't concentrating, you knew the answer, and you'll see a lot of kids say that. Like, they give you an answer and then you say, oh, you're sure? And then when you tell them the answer, like, oh, I knew it. That was a sloppy mistake. Why did you make that? I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't focusing. Okay, you got to pay attention a little bit better. Those 3 mistakes are good for us. That's good for the brain. We learn from those kind of mistakes, and we want kids to be okay with those mistakes. High stakes mistake is different. A high stakes mistake is a mistake that you make that really could cause big problems in your life. Like maybe hurting one of your friends, saying something bad to somebody, stealing, any of those kind of things. Now, you can learn from those mistakes, and you should learn from them. But those kind of mistakes we do learn from, but we kind of don't want to repeat them, okay? But the aha, stretch, and sloppy mistakes, it's okay. It doesn't hurt us. We're learning. We're learning from all of them. But those are mistakes that we shouldn't be so afraid of avoiding. And so this is a really big thing in neuroeducation and in your classroom. Help your kids see mistakes in a new light. Now, one way you can also do this is by doing some fun challenges with your kids. There's something called the chopstick challenge. And I've done this with many teachers and students. And I get plastic ones so nobody cuts themselves. And you put 6 people at a table, and everybody has to hold the chopstick with one hand. They can't use the other hand, okay? And then what happens is after the kids, you tell the kids, you have to grab the chopstick of the person next to you, okay? And so what happens is when the kids, this is a little challenge you're giving them. Now, you have to let go and you have to grab the chopstick of the person next to you. The first time they do it, chopsticks go flying everywhere, okay? And they're laughing and and then you tell them, okay, guys, come up with a strategy. Try to fix that mistake. Many of them will count, they'll look at each other, they'll do all kinds of things to adjust themselves. And then eventually they do the challenge. Then you ask the kids, hey guys, did you make mistakes while you were doing this challenge? Oh yeah, we made a lot of them. Well, what's the difference between this and when you're learning English or when you're learning math or when you're learning science? There really is no difference. The brain needs time to learn this new challenge, so we have to give it some time. Okay. So this is because we're talking I only want to give you 3 doable things that you can bring into your classroom. So when we talk about this challenge that we're giving the kids and the mistakes, what this is doing is something related to the zone of proximal development. You want to give kids a challenge that's slightly above their current ability. You want it to be slightly higher than where they are right now. And when you give the kids challenges and they meet the challenge, the brain develops. And then we take on another challenge and the brain develops and continues and continues and continues. So we want to challenge our students, but we don't want to challenge them with lots of fear, lots of stress, and lots of anxiety. And we want them to realize that they can do more than they think they can. We want them to realize the power of yet. We want them to realize mistakes are normal, and we want to help them bring down the fear and scaffold things, which means break things down into smaller steps and give them strategies. So as a review, and then we'll take some questions, the 3 things if you want to start immediately bringing some neuroeducation into your classroom is think about what has happened in your kids' minds. What conditioning do your students have? What are the things your students are saying? We're not good at that. We can't do that. I'm going to fail. And then get them to change it to yet. Give them strategies that help them deal with this difficulty. And when they use the strategies, praise their effort. Now, that's really important on the part of the teacher. You got to give them those strategies, right? You can't just say, try harder. If your students aren't doing something well, that you probably have to say, I probably have to give them some strategies because they're not going to get better at this if I don't give them strategies to practice. Number 2, help your students overcome fear and calm the nervous system, just like I told you with the lady who's going to do the songwriting with me. Activate their prior knowledge, Tell them, hey, I love this. I want you to love this too. We're going to do a great job. Show them something motivational and break it into smaller steps. That's called chunking. That's part of neuroscience, neuroeducation is chunking. Break things into smaller chunks. And then 3, get your students to see mistakes in a new light. Mistakes are normal in the brain. It's normal part of learning. And yes, there are some mistakes we want to avoid, but there are a lot of mistakes that really help us learn, and they're really good for the brain. All right, so we've got some minutes left, and I'd like to see if we have any questions.
Jennifer, good evening. I'm Venu. I'm a teacher myself, and
Yes.
I encounter students who are I teach IELTS and TOEFL and these kind of subjects. So,
Yes.
I do meet a lot of students who are not children, but are in the mold of children. They will not open themselves up, and see, it's easier if you have students who express themselves.
Yeah.
I don't get them at least half the time. So all the strategies, see, you can plan a strategy if a student opens up in some way, even saying that I'll fail or I can't do this. Now, I do get whatever I need to get across to. A lot of the time, it is I'm not aware whether it has gone across to them, how much has gone across to them, and then what do I do next is something that I've always faced as a challenge.
Right.
How do I deal with this?
Let me make sure I understand the question. So you're teaching adults.
Yes.
You're teaching adults, and
adults who are in the mold of children. Sorry for interrupting. Half the adults are in the mode of children. I mean, I face a lot of students who've grown up but have not grown up much, except in terms of age.
Okay. Yes, that's harder because that's what we just said, right? When you've got the man on the bicycle, right? It took him 8 months to change his thinking.
Yes.
What I would say is, we got a mic on. I would say is that if you're talking about getting your students to talk, is that one of the issues?
Get them to write, get them to express themselves. I mean, open up in some way.
In some way. One thing that I could say to you is, first is that thing that I'm not good at speaking. I'm not good at expressing myself. I'm not good at it yet. First thing, change that language. I'm not good at this yet. What are the benefits in life of being able to express yourself? So if you can show them, not pushing them yet, but showing them something motivational. If you are better at expressing yourself, how is that going to help you in life, with your relationships, with your children, with jobs, with your community? Oh, yeah, I never thought about that before. Maybe you can show them motivational things. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Maybe. Then after that, what I would say is then they need strategies, because I teach many adults too, okay? And I teach a lot of people who are maybe a little bit different from yours, but I teach a lot of people who are very introverted. They're engineers and they're very in the brain, okay? And so they're not accustomed to speaking out. They need strategies. They need strategies because it's not a natural part of their personality, okay? So they need a lot of strategies to help them. And so that's what I would say. You need to work with them on lots and lots of strategies. How can I, in this situation, what can I do? What can I do to help myself? Now, also, if it's talking, there are a number of things you can do if you're trying to get them to speak or write, etc. Number one, I do a lot of courses on this. What I would do is to lower the fear. And even if you just do this at the beginning of class, because I know you probably have to cover this stuff in your book and everything, right? Yes, but at the beginning of class, one of the things you could do is use what's activating prior knowledge. Everybody knows all about themselves, right? Everybody knows about their life, what they like, etc. So if you want to get your students talking, bring up something about themselves that they like to talk about. because everybody likes to talk about themselves, and that information is already here. Okay.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
if they're afraid to speak in front of a group, you can do things called cooperative learning. And one of the cooperative learning structures is called a think, pair, share. So instead of talking to the whole class, I want you to think, and then I want you to talk to your partner. And then after you talk to your partner, then we're going to share with the class. So for people that are introverted or have fear, they don't like to speak in front of everybody, right? So those kinds of things where you're doing it with a partner, you're doing it in a smaller group, and then sharing while they build their confidence.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Only that the challenge is because it is accumulated reticence over a period of time, it takes a lot of effort and time to get them out of the shell. That's the only
It
challenge that
absolutely
I face.
does. It's
Also
not
because it is
overnight.
but also because non-native English speakers, it's not their language. So
Yeah.
so they are reminded that English is not going to happen. So they come having defeated themselves.
Yes.
So that's the challenge. Yes.
It is. So the things I talked to you about today is really where you want to begin with this growth
Absolutely.
mindset, with small challenges. And once I get a small sense of success, then I try the next challenge.
Consolidate. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And usually
so
that
much.
takes, it's a lot of what's called scaffolding on the part of the teacher. So it's
Yeah.
a lot of preparation for you to kind of support them. Another thing that you can do if it's second language learners, there's something called language stems that you can use. This is from something else, but I can show you an example. I think I can show you an example of what a language stem is. Let me just see if I can find it quickly.
The root words, the prefixes and the suffixes, is that what you're referring to?
That's a little bit different. Let me show you. I'll share my screen so you can see this. These can help a lot. And let me tell you, even first language speakers worldwide, a lot of teachers are having problems getting their students to talk. Why? Because a lot of them are so accustomed with the phones, parents aren't talking to them. There's lots of communication problems, even with native speakers. And some teachers who are teaching English as a native language, they have to give these to their kids. These are called sentence starters or stems. And these are for people who speak English as a first language. Yes. And what they do is you can put it on the table, you can give them a paper, you can put them on the board, and you'll see many of them really rely on these sentence starters. And they really are like, they need to look at them until they feel confident that they can do it on
Makes
their
a lot of
own.
sense,
They might need some of these. Yeah, this is all scaffolding.
Yes.
This is, you see on my screen here, it's all called scaffolding. And so anything that we can do to help support them, because some teachers think, I shouldn't do that. They might need it. They might need things like this until they start feeling successful, right? Little by little by little. Okay.
Absolutely.
Thanks for your question.
Thank you.
Hola, Jennifer. Me llamo Mahesh de Bangalore. I actually teach Spanish for a university called Jane. And it's been about desde 7 años. And what's the challenge is I have the issue with the distracted students because the 70% of the students are actually very interested because I use a little bit of neuro using the color codes for the verbs, green in color and blue for adjectives and all the parts of speech. And thanks for the English linguistics because I've been teaching it. And also the course I did from APTTI, did a dual specialization, which actually helped me to do more on phonetics. And thanks for this opportunity today. So this 30%, I don't know how to actually handle them. So is there any technique? I'm teaching adults, so you know how they are distracted. And what happens is many of them have come to me personally and told me, sir, these students are disturbing my, even though they are friends.
Yeah.
You know. So, and it's a Spanish language. It's if it's something English, like it's okay, fine, we can handle with, because a new step and it's new for the language. It's actually an elective subject for them. And the challenge is it's now after the NEP, it is 50 and 50. So 50 marks goes on a continuous internal assessment and 50 on the theory. So it's becoming more challenged. Before it was like 70-30. So I want actually a help from you to how to actually handle this distracted students. In fact.
Yeah, I would look into these things called cooperative learning. As I said before, there's all kinds of cooperative learning strategies, and you can look for something called the Kagan. I can write this in the chat. Is there a chat here?
Sure.
Do I have a chat? Okay, yeah, let's see.
Okay.
They're called cooperative learning structures.
Okay.
And you can find them online. There are hundreds of structures, and what they are is different ways of getting everybody in your class working. So it's not just two people always answering the question. They have things like jigsaws, think, pair, share, all kinds of ways that you're getting people to work together on something and then sharing with the class. So they have to they have to act. Another thing you could look into is something called task-based. It's called task-based language learning. And this is where students are learning through a task. And this kind of makes everybody, everyone's not just sitting in the class paying attention, looking ahead. They have to work in small groups and work on a task. So they're learning the language through the task. You, as a teacher with task-based language learning, this is a really good one because it's engaging the brain. Usually what you do is you activate prior knowledge first. You might even have to use some of their first language if necessary. And then you introduce some words that you're going to teach. Let's give an example. You can find a task-based language learning video online, and it's a lady who teaches adults. And what she does is she wants them to create their perfect island, okay? And she gives them a picture of a blank island, and she goes over some of the words first, like cities, mountains, roads, rules, all of these kinds of things. And then they talk about, from their prior knowledge, like what kinds of laws and rules and weather things do you like? Then they have to work together in groups and they have to create their own perfect island with the rules, with the weather, with the whatever it is that you want to teach. Okay, and the language is happening through the task because they have to practice those words. They have to do a task that helps them practice the words. And basically everybody has to be involved because they're working together in small groups. I would also say don't put them in really big groups, maybe even 3 or like that, or even partners if you really have trouble getting them to talk. That also helps the teacher because you can walk around for the people that are having problems and go talk to them and help them with some questions. But I would say look at the cooperative learning. That might help you.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Just another question. I've seen that you've been in Spain for about 14 years. And when you went there, so what was the challenge that you as a bilingualist, because you're a bilingualist and I'm actually trying to interact with you, I want to know what was the challenge that you took and how was the yet, you said the on in Spanish, the on. So how did that actually gave you another window for you to actually become what you're now today?
I'm going to put something else in the chat with you that's really useful.
Thank you.
And this is a skill that everyone speaking a second language needs to learn. Something called circumlocution. And this is when we're learning a language and we don't know exactly some words to say. How do you talk around it? Okay? Because even though I've been here for 14 years, I mostly speak English because I'm teaching things related to English all of the time. So let's say I go to a doctor or a pharmacy and there's a lot of words I don't know. I have to talk around it. I can't stop and say, I don't know the word, right? I have to use the WH questions, right? Who, what, right?
What?
Who,
Why?
What, why,
when,
where. Yeah, so describe, what color is it? How big is it? What does it look like? Where do you see it? What does it taste like? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's a really great strategy because we were talking about giving them strategies, right? So circumlocution is a great strategy. When the people stop and I don't know, and they get frustrated, right? Okay, tell me whatever you can. Try to describe it. Even physically describe it, or get someone to help us. Maybe someone else can help us translate that word. But a lot of circumlocution. Describe it. Even if you don't know the word, try your best to talk around it. All right, I think I can only take one more question and then we're going to have to go.
Ma'am, can you please share the videos which you are already showed?
Yeah, do you want me to put them in the chat?
Yes, ma'am.
Or is there another way that we could share it? Is Susmita here?
Yes, ma'am. Shushmita.
Yeah, you can mail me.
If you can share
you can
it
mail
through
me if you
mail.
have any problem while sharing the videos. You can mail me the link so that I can share with the students or the candidates, whoever they will need that. I'll share the link with them.
Sure.
Yeah, through mail will be better.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
anyone needs the link and video, please do kindly contact me.
Okay, great. All right,
Ma'am,
so
but
guys, I think the time is up.
Your number is not there, no?
My mail ID, you just
Sushmita,
note
ma'am.
down my mail ID.
Okay.
Sushmita, SUSHMITA .APTTI@gmail.com.
Can you please type that?
All right, so everybody, I hope you give these things a try. And it'll be a good start to bringing some neuroeducation into your classrooms.
Grateful, Jennifer and Sushmita, madam. It's been amazing learning. Very, very helpful indeed.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer, and thank you, Susmita, ma'am. Thank you for
Thank
the
you.
document.
Thank you so much for joining, and Jennifer, it was a wonderful session. We're waiting many more to come.
Yes, next
Yes.
time though, we got to figure out the video.
Yeah.
We'll check it beforehand.
Yeah, we'll check 5 minutes before if everything runs well.
Thank you,
Okay.
ma'am.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Thank you so much. Thank you
Bye.
so much.
Thank you so much.
Sushmita, ma'am.
Good night, everyone.
welcome.
Jennifer, thanks again.
Thank you to all.
Good night, ma'am.
So I leave
All right,
right
bye,
now,
everybody.
Jennifer. Shall we wind up? Yeah. Okay then.
Thank you, ma'am.
so much.
Take care.
ma'am.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Sushmita, ma'am.
Yes.
Sushmita, ma'am.
Yes, I'm there.
Can you please share all that videos which were already showed?
Yeah, what you want, Sanu? I can get your point.
I want the videos, that slides. That
Yeah,
Jennifer.
let Jennifer share it with me.
Okay.
You just mail me. I'll not have your mail ID. So you just mail me. I have just shared my mail ID. So you just mail me. Soon I receive the link from Jennifer. Anyone out there, please mail me for that. All right?
Okay, ma'am. I too want.
Thank you.
Okay then. I'll
Thank you, ma'am.
leave.
Bye.
क्या हो गया